of ways to build a strong body. And for the residents of Miami-Dade, getting your COVID-19 vaccination is an important part. Help everyone stay safe as we continue to fight the spread. And we can protect those most vulnerable around us. With easy access to vaccination locations and the growing ability for more people to be protected, it's our best shot to keep moving forward. It's our best shot for a strong, healthy community. For more information, visit miamidade.gov/vaccine.
It's Tuesday and it's 11 a.m., which means it's time for the FIU Music Hour on WDNA 88.9 FM, where we present live weekly performances in the WDNA Jazz Gallery and feature students, faculty, and alumni from Florida International University's Herbert and Nicole Wertheim School of Music and Performing Arts. I'm your host today, Dr. Russ Spiegel, and along with our producer, Dr. Karen Veloz, we'd like to welcome you to our show. Whether you're listening to us at home, in your car, or live on WDNA.org/FIU, we are delighted to have you with us. Today, we are pleased to feature the Alex Hernandez Trio, featuring Tom Lippincott on guitar, Lucas Apostolaris on drums, and bassist and bandleader and composer, Alex Hernandez. Born and raised in Miami, Florida, Alex Hernandez began studying music at 8 years old. He went on to receive scholarships to study at Miami-Dade College and FIU. From 2000 to 2003, Alex was in Madrid, Spain, until moving to New York City in 2003. There, he continued to study independently with some of New York's greatest bassists, including Ron Carter. Alex has performed with Ira Sullivan, Dr. Lonnie Smith, Bebo Valdez, Bobby Sanabria, Savion Glover, Patience Higgins, Jeremy Pelt, and many more. Alex has also recorded music for TV and film, including the PBS special, Latin Music USA. Alex was featured on Bobby Sanabria's 2008 Grammy-nominated recording, Big Band Urban Folktales. Good morning, Alex. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell us about the first two tunes we're going to be hearing?
Okay, so the first two tunes are some of my newer songs, and I like to usually start my show playing some music dedicated to my mentors and heroes. And so the first song is dedicated to Andy and Jerry Gonzalez, and it's called The Gonzes. And the second tune is, I'm very inspired by bassist Dave Holland as a composer and as a bassist. And so it's a tune with him in mind, and it's called Holland Tunnel Vision.
Oh, fantastic. So the Alex Hernandez Trio here on the FIU Music Hour. You're listening to a live performance in the WDNA Jazz Gallery of the Alex Hernandez Trio here on the FIU Music Hour on WDNA 88.9 FM. Please stick around. We'll be right back after these messages. And we're back on the WDNA 88.9 FIU Music Hour, and I'm here with bassist, composer, and band leader Alex Hernandez. Good morning again, Alex.
Hey, good morning.
Wonderful music we're listening to this morning. And I have some questions for you for our listeners. And why don't you first tell us a little bit about the ensemble that you were playing with today?
Okay. Well, I moved back to Miami about 2017, early 17, and I think one of the first groups I got to jam with was with Jim Gager and John Yarling, and I think it was my first time actually working with Tom, and obviously I was, like we all are, blown away by his creativity, his sounds, and the 8-string guitar, if you didn't notice.
Yeah.
And we've been working for years together in my groups and other groups together, and he's just one of the go-to guys in town, and he's got a certain vibe, and I know that he can get it when when I'm looking for it.
Nice, nice.
So I always really enjoy playing with him, and Lucas, kind of the same. I think early on within the first year, we met working with some singers and some other musicians around town, and we just play together all the time, and we have a good hookup, bass and drum hookup, which is probably one of the most important.
So the fundamentals of any band, really.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, we've sort of developed an understanding of each other's playing, and he makes it easy to play my music, which I think is the primary goal, is to find guys that, can take the challenges of the music and they can make it feel comfortable and open it up and make it feel relaxed and like that, mostly open,
Right, and we've been having a lot of different ensembles in here, and each ensemble is led by a different instrument in the ensemble. And this is as a bass player and as a leader and writer, what are special things that you bring to the table, and how do you go about writing your pieces?
Well, as a bass player, man, I mean, to me it's like the driver's chair, man. It's like I feel like I'm driving the bus. All the choices that I make can really affect the band, I mean, it's tough if you have a solid bass player and not a strong drummer. It's rough, but you can kind of get by. I think if you have a stronger drummer and a weaker bass player, that might be, sometimes that can cause problems, with keeping the form together,
Mm-hmm.
So, my job is that. It's like, providing the rhythm, the time, trying to keep the form, and just making decisions dynamically, note-wise. I mean, that was, like you said before, I spent a little time studying with Ron Carter, and he really emphasized those things. Like, every choice you make, you have to be responsible for every note that you play, because everything that you do affects everybody else. So it's kind of a challenge, but it's also like an interesting place in the music to be. And I feel like I get to listen probably better than everybody else, because I'm taking in everybody's parts and trying to make something cohesive out of what the rhythm is doing, what the guitar might be doing, or the piano might be doing, or the horns might be doing. So, it's a great, it's a great instrument for me, and I feel like I think bass players are usually like kind of like the low key, kind of more of a serving attitude, so it kind of fits me pretty good because I'm not like the wild upfront type of guy,
Well, you're the person who's holding it all together.
Yeah, secretly behind the scenes, I'm controlling. So yeah, there is a little bit of that kind of, there is a little bit of that controlling aspect to it too. There's certain guys, man. Like if you check out Mingus, Mingus was a very controlling kind of cat. He would push whatever he wanted on you,
Mm-hmm.
And he had that attitude, and he had the strength to do it, like the means to do it, But the same thing is when it comes to compositions. I mean, I try to take into account those things. The guys that I'm working with, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. A lot of times I write with some people in mind. Sometimes it's just whatever comes, and it's I don't feel like I'm a prolific writer, but all my favorite bassists are all really great writers, and so I kind of force myself from time to time to like sit down and write a new song and put together something of my own, because in the end you can you can play somebody else's stuff all night long, or you could write some music that kind of shows your strengths and your kind of personality. I like with Mingus and Dave Holland and many other bass players that I really like. I've noticed that it's like they really shine when they play their music.
Mm-hmm.
They sound great with other people, but when they play their music, there's something special. So.
Right. And you were at FIU for a time.
Yeah, I was in the late 90s, 97 and 98. It was a tumultuous time back then. It was great, man. It was school always has its challenges. But it was definitely a great experience, and it kind of launched me into my career. I studied with a great bass player that was here named Dennis Marks, who's he's in upstate.
Yeah, he's I think University of Florida now, or Central Florida, one of
UNF,
the two.
That's what it is.
Northern Florida.
Yeah, North Florida. And he was a great cat. He was, very shy and very humble, but he just could play his butt off. And, he's the guy that just called me up one day and was like, hey, I need you to sub for me with Lonnie Smith. And I was like, are you nuts, dude? But, he and guys like Mike Orta and Gary Campbell, they all kind of threw me into the fire, and they gave me my experience. So I was very fortunate to be there at that time with those, particular guys, especially Mike was a big influence. And they kind of ushered me into the scene and said, go and play and hang out with these guys. You're going to learn something. So.
Yeah, that brings me, actually, that was great story. Also, since we were talking about this, for young and upcoming bass players, any particular advice would you give them?
Go play, and go play with old guys, man. For me, the one of the defining moments, I think it was Campbell and Mike Orta. They called me up, and there was a club down on the beach that was there for many years, kind of closed and reopened, and they said, look, they're looking for a regular bass player. It's not paying a whole lot of money, but you'll be there 2 days a week, and you'll get to play with some good dudes, And you know, the drummers were not that great, but the piano players were always fantastic, man. I had there were the twin brothers, Dolph and Tony Castellano. They're, you know, going way back. I actually saw Dolph here not too long ago. I believe Tony passed away. I played with Tony Prentice, who used to work with Curtis Fuller back in the day. With Mike a lot, Brian Murphy, and all these guys. Man, they knew a million tunes. You know, there was no apps, there was no smartphones. I had a real book that I would carry around, and most of the time, if we were going to play that tune that was in the real book, we weren't going to play it in the key that was in the real book. So at first, I was trying to sight transpose, and then I just put the book away, and I just started using my ears, and my ears just got so much bigger. And that really changed everything, man, because, you know, I wasn't relying on my eyes or some piece of paper. I was listening to the music and listening to the motion, and I could, you know, hear how chords were moving in certain directions. And, you know, that's really what it's all about. You know, most of this stuff, you know, when you get into standards and that kind of stuff, a lot of it is, you know, all of it is very similar, you know. The theory of the way those tunes work, you know, they work pretty, you know, there's a lot of common threads in all those tunes. So, you know, if you get a certain amount of things in your ear, you'll be able to, you know, hear your way through tunes, you know. And that made it so, you know, so all of a sudden, like, people were just calling me because it's like, hey, he seems to know a lot of tunes, or, you know, or he can figure it out by a chorus or two. And, you know, and then I started to get work with older guys. I had Melton Mustafa and what was a great trumpet player, older dude? Oh, Pete Minger. Pete Minger was another Basie alumni guy. He's a great trumpet and flugelhorn player. You know, I started to work with, like, all these older dudes, as well as Ira. You know, Ira gave me a big shot too. And that's
Great.
the way, man. That's the way to do it. You know, you can't learn that stuff on YouTube for sure.
Well, there we have some words of wisdom from Alex Hernandez. Alex, for our listeners, how could they keep track of what you're up to?
I've been a little disconnected from the social media lately, but I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram, and occasionally, if I don't post, somebody posts that I'm there.
How would they find you on Instagram?
I'm at Alex Hernandez Music.
Oh, okay.
Also on Facebook, if for the older crowd, I guess now.
Okay, so let's get back to the music.
Yes, sir.
You're going to play two more tunes for us. What are they, and is anything you want to say about those tunes?
Okay. I guess these will be some older tunes. The first couple tunes were much newer tunes. I guess we'll do Siberia. This song is called A Summer's Day in Siberia. The idea just came from someone very close to me that was from Siberia, and how, like, the summer days were like 22 hours long, basically.
Whoa.
Like, you know, it's mostly daytime with a few hours of, like, you know, a little bit of darkness. And then in the winters, obviously the opposite would happen. But so it was kind of a happy tune. And so it's called A Summer's Day in Siberia. And then we'll do also an older tune I wrote for a friend. And that one is called The Untold Chronicles of HK's Travels.
All right. The Alex Hernandez here on the FIU Music Hour. You've been listening to the Alex Hernandez Trio with Tom Lippincott and Lucas Apostolaris on the FIU Music Hour on WDNA 88.9 FM. I've been your faculty host, Dr. Russ Spiegel, and along with our producer, Dr. Karen Velas, we'd like to thank FIU grad student Antonio Wilson, WDNA's sound and tech wizard, Alex Aldrich, and the staff of WDNA 88.9 FM for today's broadcast. If you would like more information on all our programs, make sure to call 305-348-2896 or like our Facebook and or Instagram page to stay up to date with all our upcoming performances. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure to join the FIU Music Hour for more great music every Tuesday, 11 a.m. to noon. I would also like to make an announcement on behalf of WDNA. They are having their next Jazz Encounters featuring Jennifer Wharton's Bonegasm on Friday, June 10th at 8 p.m. here in the WDNA Jazz Gallery. June's Jazz Encounter features trombonist, composer, and bandleader Jennifer Wharton and her Bonegasm project. Jennifer Wharton might be considered by many as a unicorn in the world of music. In the not-too-distant past, it was a rarity to even have a woman in prominent jazz bands and orchestras, but to have a bass trombone-slinging woman as leader was thought extraordinary. In 2019, Wharton presented her trombone-powered ensemble Bonegasm via its self-titled debut album. Wharton describes Bonegasm as a climax of musical excitement characterized by feelings of pleasure centered in the ears when hearing a group of trombone players. And for this Miami show, the ensemble includes Jennifer Wharton, John Fedchuk, Dante Luciani, and Seth Weaver on the trombones, Mike Eckroth on piano, Chuck Bergeron on the bass, and Ludwig Afonso on the drums. Member tickets $40, general admission $50, and student tickets for concert and jam are free. And we have time for one last song to play out. Alex, what are we going to be hearing?
Thank you once again, Russ. I think we're going to play a really pretty tune by Carla Bley, great composer, and it's called Lawns. Lawns.
Okay, thank you very much.